Hello guys, and welcome to today's episode. In this video, we'll set up pytest that we can use it in our next coding challenges. So why pytest? Pytest is a Python-based testing framework which is used to write and execute test codes. If you have seen my last videos, we always used a Jupyter notebook, wrote our code in there, and then for testing we executed the code and typed in the input manually to get the output. To reduce this, I want to change it. I want to use pytest to create my test cases that I can execute them automatically and don't need to type in the input again and again. So we will start with installing the pytest module, but I don't want to install it on my system in general. I want to use a virtual environment. So a virtual environment is a self-contained directory tree that contains a Python installation for a particular version of Python plus a number of additional packages. So it's kind of a scope that you open where you can install packages in it and use them. And so you don't have the problem of having different versions. If you use this and you have all your packages that belong to your project that you're working on in a specific place. So if you're interested in knowing more about pytest or virtual environments and want to have another video, just let me know in the comments, and then I will just produce some more videos about it. So, but I would say let's just start with creating our virtual environment. For this, we go on the command line and type python -m then. So we are creating with a Python command a virtual environment and we call it then. Sorry, space was missing. Okay. No. Now you could see here's a when folder that was created. So Python creates this folder. There are a lot of things in there. I just open it. So some subfolders, a config, and for us at the moment it's just important that we can install now some packages in this context. To get in the virtual environment, we have to activate it. And for this, we need to go into scripts and use the activate. So we change the directory to the then folder, then we go to scripts and just activate it. Now you can see here we are now in the virtual environment. So the virtual environment is activated. Okay. Now we are back at our starting folder. Now we can start with installing pytest. For this, we just use pip and install pytest. Okay, this lasts a few seconds. Now we are finished. Okay, now pytest is installed. This is what we need to execute our test cases. To check if pytest is installed correctly, you can use the pytest -h command. And I hope we don't get any yes. Okay. So we get a lot of information and we can see that it worked pretty well. So it's installed. Okay. So maybe let's just make our first test case there are some specialties I will tell you about. So we will execute all of our test cases later on by just using the pytest function, maybe with the -v command, so verbose to get more information, but the important part is the pytest command. And pytest, the framework, is using every file that starts with test underscore or ends with underscore test.py. There it looks for functions that are called like test and then something. So it goes in there and finds all the functions that start with test. And this is it is important that you go for the right nomenclature here. So we will just write our first function here. It's called test pytest, and we'll have an assert statement. So pytest works with these assert statements. You can say here what you expect. The assert true in here is just for trying it out. So when we get here and do the pytest, you can see it found one file that starts with test. It's test pytest, and this passed. So it gets a true, and therefore we get a green dot in here. Let's make another simple example of a pytest function. So let's just call it pytest2. And we get there to inputs a, b, and here we have our function c is a plus b. And now we take the assert function and we assert that c is equal to 5. We save it and then do the pytest once again. You can see that we have here 2 dots. That means 2 functions were invoked. And this here is our file, the test pytest.py file. What would happen if the assertion is not fulfilled? So let's try this out. A plus b, 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 is not equal to 4. So we will get here one green dot. So one test is successful and one test has failed. You can see this in here too. One failed, one passed. And here are some information what has not been correct. So how we say a plus b, 2 plus 3 is 5. We assert that it's 4, and so you can see here that it's failed. So that's it for today. So we have set up pytest. We can use pytest for our next coding challenges, and in the next coding challenge you will see how we will use it there. Thank you for your attention. If you have any comments, anything to improve, anything else, just let me know in the comments. That's all. Thank you and goodbye.